What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to be looking at the deck that won the Seattle Vault Tour. I've not really covered the Seattle Vault Tour very much compared to Eindhoven and Schaumburg, where I commentated pretty much every round. Sorry about that. Didn't have the same access to it, unfortunately. I'm going to try and make sure that's different going forward. I'll be in touch with organisers, etc. I do need to give a quick shout out here to Austin J. Kakay, AJ the Kakay on Twitter, AJ_the_Kakay, Kukay, who's a lovely man who has been feeding me some information about the Seattle Vault Tour. Now, we're going to look at the winning deck today, but one thing I need to point out here, this was a sealed tournament. You rock up, you get given 3 decks, you pick one of those 3 decks, you play it for the entire tournament. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Sealed solo. Get 3 decks, choose one, just the other 2 you don't play. So, it's not probably going to be on the same level as the ridiculous decks we've seen that have won over in Schaumburg and in Eindhoven, because they were, well, Archon, you got to choose your best deck and take it. But make no mistake about it, this is still a very good deck, and it's led by the Untamed suite. We've seen a lot of decks playing Shadows. This deck doesn't play Shadows. It plays Logos, Sanctum, and Untamed. And there's a lot of good stuff in this deck, and it's a deck I like very much indeed. But it's one of those decks that has ridiculous Ember generation from Untamed. Starting off, we have 1 copy of Full Moon and 1 copy of Hunting Witch. They do the same thing. Full Moon is an action, Hunting Witch just has a constant ability, but both of them say when you play a creature, gain 1 Ember. Now, the ideal scenario here is that you play a Full Moon, and then you play a Hunting Witch to gain 1 Ember, and then you play every other creature you've got to get 2 Ember for each of them. Now, you're only playing 6 creatures here, which is a little bit sad, but it's still not too bad. Because 2 of those creatures are Dust Pixie, and Dust Pixie gives you 2 Ember just for playing it. But then, of course, if there's a Full Moon or a Hunting Witch, you get 3 Ember. If both of them are in play, 4 Ember for playing 1 creature. Bearing in mind, you only need 6 to forge a key under normal circumstances. When I look at this deck, the very first thing that jumps out to me is Full Moon, Hunting Witch, double Dust Pixie. The 4 of those cards are going to give you really good Ember generation throughout the game. It's not the only good thing about the deck, but it's what jumps out initially. Now, there's no Shadows here, but we still need an emergency You Can't Forge card. The best decks in Keyforge, as far as I'm concerned, and the results really are bearing this out, have an emergency You Can't Forge card. There's no bait and switch here, but there is an effervescent principle. Effervescent principle says that both players lose half their Ember, rounding down. And okay, fine, that could hurt you, but don't play it if it's going to hurt you too much. Yeah, you gain a chain, but 1 chain means you draw 1 fewer card once. It's really not that big a deal. Now, there's also a Bouncing Deathquark here, and Bouncing Deathquark does a very similar thing, except instead of being an emergency You Can't Forge card, it's an emergency gutted now you don't have any creatures on the board card. What you do is you destroy a friendly creature and an enemy creature. And then, if you want to, you can do it again. And again, you got to destroy 1 of your creatures for every creature you destroy of your opponent, fine. But the key is, you can use this just to get rid of stuff. And honestly, even though this isn't a disc deck, the disruption doesn't stop there. We've got 2 copies of Fogify here, which give you an Ember bonus, but also say that your opponent cannot use creatures to fight on their next turn. That's pretty gosh darn good. And 1 copy of Skippy Time Hog, which says your opponent cannot use any cards next turn. I know, right? So, it's weird that we've actually got a quite disruptive deck here because of Logos. That's quite cool, right? So, they are the things that really jump out to me about the deck. Let's run through the 3 houses, see what else we find. We have 1 copy, we're going through Logos obviously first. We've got 1 copy of Lab Work. You archive a card. you get an Ember bonus. You can pick it up at the beginning of your turn or not. This is not really a big archiving deck, if I'm honest with you. You basically got one lab work. But look, just archive a card, leave it there because you don't need it now, and pick it up at the beginning of the turn when you are going to need it. Job's a good one. One copy of Phase Shift, which lets you play a non-logos card. It's one of the best cards in logos and probably in the game. It's house cheating. It's great. Twin Bolt Emission gives you an Ember bonus and deals 2 damage to 2 creatures. They could be your creatures if you so wish. Although, well, there's not a huge amount of reason to KO your own ones here, unfortunately. We've got a Library of Babel. It's an artifact that lets you draw a card. But you know what? Drawing cards is good. And we also have Mother here. Mother lets you draw 1 extra card at the end of every turn. So between Mother and Library of Babel, we've got a little bit of drawing going on. No, it's not amazing, it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. We've got a Dr. Escatera. Gain 1 Ember for each forged key your opponent has. I've got him in a couple of Logos decks, maybe even 4 Logos decks. Either way, it's fine. Late in the game, you might get a couple of Ember. I've really not had a lot of love for this as I've been playing it. And 1 Quixo the Adventurer. When you fight, you draw a card. So again, you got a bit more, well, just a bit more draw power there. But it's also got Skirmish, so if you instigate the fight, you will survive it. That's quite nice. Going into Sanctum, there isn't really anything amazing that jumps out to me. But there's a few cards which really, really help. So one thing I love here is Sigil of Brotherhood. Gives you an Ember bonus, and it's got an Omni ability that you can sacrifice it, and for the remainder of the turn, you may use friendly Sanctum creatures. Well, the good news is that you've actually got 8 creatures here, which is quite a few. And this is more house cheating. Yeah, pretty gosh darn good. We've also got the Spirit's Way, which destroys each creature with power 3 or higher. Now, this is actually really good, but it's also really risky. It will, for instance, get rid of your Mother. We haven't talked about it yet, but it will get rid of your Witch of the Eye, which we really don't want to get rid of. So, and to be honest, it will get rid of most of your Sanctum creatures as well, which kind of sucks. There is also a Cleansing Wave. Deal 1 damage from each creature. Gain 1 Ember for each creature healed this way. Does work nicely with Twin Bolt Emission. We've then, if we go into the creatures, got a whole bunch of them. Champion and Naphiel. 6 power creature, 1 armor, and it's got Taunt. You can't attack the neighbours unless they've also got Taunt. Commander Ramiel's got 3 power, and when you reap, you can use a friendly non-Sanctum creature. Oh, look, it's more house cheating, which goes along with Sigil of Brotherhood. And actually, with Phase Shift as well, I like to go through the themes of the deck at the beginning of these videos. House cheating really could have been one of the themes of this deck. We've got 2 copies of Protectrix here. When you reap, you may fully heal a creature. And if you do, that creature becomes invincible for the remainder of the turn. Quite nice. 2 Raiding Knight, 4 power, 2 armor's good. You can take down 2 power creatures without taking any damage. That's quite nice. And when you play it, you capture an Ember. We've got Sequest, 4 power creature, 2 armor, and when you reap, you capture an Ember. And Sergeant Zakiel, 4 power, 1 armor, and when you play, you may ready and fight with a neighbouring creature. Now, it's only fighting, but it doesn't say Sanctum, so we've got more house cheating here. Nice. We've then got an Armageddon Cloak, which gives the creature Hazardous 2. That is, when it is attacked, it does 2 damage before the battle starts. And you've obviously got an Ember bonus. And when the creature is destroyed, it gets fully healed, and Armageddon Cloak goes away instead. So Ember bonus and Hazardous 2, and basically says that their opponent's got to get rid of it twice. That's good for me. And finishing off looking at the Untamed, you've got Cooperative Hunting. Deal 1 damage for each friendly creature in play. You may divide this damage among any number of creatures. And then, of course, you could always try a bit of Cleansing Wave afterwards. Do a bunch of healing. That could be fun. We've got 1 copy of Nature's Call. Return up to 3 creatures to their owner's hand. Really, you want to be trying to combo this with Dust Pixie, especially on the turns where you've got Full Moon and or Hunting Witch in play. It's not bad with Raiding Night. When you play it, you capture an Ember. I do quite like that. But the best use for this here really is just reusing Dust Pixie, going nuts with Ember. We've got Nocturnal Maneuver. It gives you an Ember bonus, and when you play it, yeah, you get to exhaust up to 3 creatures. The thing is, you ready them at the end of your turn. So if you exhaust your opponent's creatures on your turn, they don't get readied until the end of your opponent's turn. That's quite nice. We've got Regrowth that lets you return a creature from your discard pile to your hand and gives you an Ember bonus. But we've also got Witch of the Eye. Now, it's a 3-power creature, but when you reap, you get to return a card from your discard pile to your hand. So it's kind of like Regrowth, but it could be any card, not just a creature. Again, both of those could well be used to get your Dust Pixie back, and incidentally, this is then an argument to destroy the creatures with Twin Bolt Emission, so that you can get them back with Hunting Witch or Regrowth. Whereas if they're still on the field, you can use Nature's Call, but you can't use the others because they're not in the discard. So I quite like that. There's some good combos going on here. In reality, Witch of the Eye probably just gets taken out before you can use it, but that's because it's such a great card that it really is a big threat to your opponent. I wouldn't be sad if your opponent takes it down because it's too gosh darn good. We've then got 1 Save the Pack, destroy each damaged creature, gain a chain. Again, you could combo this with your Twin Bolt Emission or your Cooperative Hunting, because that's going to spread a bunch of damage around. We've got Dew Fairy, a 2-power creature with Elusive, so you got to attack it twice. When you reap, you gain an Ember. You already gain an Ember, but you would gain 2. And then finishing off, Snufflegator. I love Snufflegator. I've mentioned that in a couple of videos and people have started to notice. 4-power creature with Skirmish, which means when you start the fight, when you instigate it, you don't take any damage in return. It's really good. It's only for fighting. I suppose you can't reap with it. But anything that's 4 power or less, you can just take down with Snufflegator. And anything that's higher than 4 power, you can damage. It's nice. There's no surprise that this deck won. It's not quite at the level of kind of double Time Traveler or the Nepenthe Library Access combo, which we did see win the other 2 Vault Tours. It's not quite on the level of the Archon decks where you got to choose what to take. But make no mistake about it, this has got crazy Ember generation, fair bit of disruption, and some house cheating. This is a good deck. But I would like to know what you think about it. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games like Keyforge, but there's also a whole bunch of others. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.